woodchucks. He has to live on something, though, in the winter. Porcupines are plant eaters.
How to learn. And they're doing that in a number of different ways. That's what I'm...
It brings them back in, and if you just... The trend in education is changing. We've gone from the Industrial Revolution society to an information-based society, and education has not changed with it. And so these are just some of the small steps that we've been taking to change education along and get our kids ready for the next century. It's just around the corner.
Historically, the Minnesota woods have always been canoe country, the earliest way fur traders and Indians could get around.
The rivers and the lakes were the highways back then because the woods were too thick to use horses to go through the woods. So the rivers are what they used. And the bark canoe is a perfect craft for doing that.
Times may have changed, but Ray Bozel has not. He is still making birch bark canoes by hand.
You do it because you're trying to make a living, or you like the canoes, or just like the way of life. You don't have to punch a clock when you're doing this.
He scours the woods for just the right tree bark.
So it's hard to find the right size. I need to have like 30 inches around or 10 inches through for making a piece on the canoe.
It's not easy, taking about 60 hours to gather all of the material for one birch bark canoe. And then another 24 hours putting the strips together, finishing another Ray Bozel creation.
I've had people come in dressed up in suit and tie, and they ask you how much you get for it, and you tell them, well, it's $1,500, and they just about pass out. So that's a lot of money for a canoe. But then you get another person comes in, and they're dressed like just a common working man or something. They ask how much, and you tell them it's $1,500, and they say, well, that's cheap. There's a lot of work in that.
The birch bark canoe is fragile when it is dry. But once it is in the water, it is among the strongest canoes made.
For the hundreds of years they've been built, there's not been much of an improvement on the birch bark canoe. They're still a good, substantial canoe for getting around in.
And one of the smoothest gliding canoes on the water. Near Big Fork, John Jetta, News 6.
Whistle, to some a safety measure, to others an annoyance they can do without. But no matter what you call it, there was a lot of it in the village of Solon Springs, Wisconsin. The railroad running through the center of town has become the center of attention. A consolidation of tracks has increased railroad traffic through the village. Randy Lucas lives and operates a mobile home park less than 100 feet from the tracks. He says the increase in noise nearly put him out of business.
Our people in our trailer park said if it keeps up, they're going to move out because they cannot sleep. They're woke up all hours of the night.
Lucas and others took their cause to the town's leaders and succeeded in stopping the noise. An ordinance passed last October prohibits trains from blowing their whistles at the village's 4 railroad crossings between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. 3 crossings are protected with lights, 1 with only a stop sign.
The whistle is a safety requirement for the railroad. And in my opinion, the whistle should be blown at all the crossings.
Jim up the Grove disagreed with the ordinance and worried about accidents. 1 week ago today, his fears proved true. A freight train slammed into a minivan, killing 55-year-old Mary Hansen, the second train car fatality this year.
I miss her deeply.
Mary's husband, Don, believes had the train blown its whistle, his wife would be alive today. Tonight, village officials will take another look at their ordinance and decide whether a good night's sleep is worth its price.
I wouldn't want to put the pain and suffering of this family's going through for somebody else and her grandchildren, and it's a tragic, it's a loss to us that we'll never forget.
In the village of Solon Springs, Stephanie Guadian, News 6.
They were early supporters of mine, and they have been a big help in this primary election. So the chance to come and speak to the delegates at this convention today is a great chance to talk to the working men and women of Minnesota and affirm their importance in my campaign.
We think that the more people get involved in the discussion and the debate and the more fights and arguments we have, the better the result will be, because we'll have more of a involved, inclusive process at the legislature.
And within the last few years, more and more survivors have talked more openly about it. They've talked about the need to have mammography rather than just breast self-exam, and the treatments have improved as well.
Denied that. I talked to the DNR here in town, and Mr. Peterson, right, he is with the Corps of Engineers, and same problem.
You live on the west side of Elmira?
Right.
Contingent on getting permits from both the DNR and the Corps of Engineers. Once this property has been vacated,
It won't fly again, but it will be adequate for a static display here in Poplar to memorialize Dick Bong and what he accomplished for the country.
We're not exactly certain how that head injury occurred. However, the preliminary results show that it may not have been foul play. It may have been accidental.
As well as communications with the NSF and other leading
that can take a leadership role in paving. And what is particularly exciting about this project is that we have an opportunity to work with our friends down the road, the Ojibwe School, and go into the school and work with the young people there and turn them on to science and math and encourage them to come to Fond du Lac Tribal College and continue their education. Scholars. We're talking about scholars that have national recognition, knowledge base that students need to be successful. Glenn Langhorse, who is also a tremendous professor and has shown great leadership on our campus in the area of astronomy. Those of you that know him from UMD, he is involved there with the
Well, when it was on the front burner, that's all we could talk about. But
Nice to share some of that load. Well, I was thinking yesterday as I was doing some interviews, 13-year-olds.
After a year and a half of planning, the Duluth Clinic's non-urgent care facility was ceremoniously opened this morning. Called Walk-In Care, it's the latest addition to the area's growing medical community. St. Luke's opened a similar facility called Urgent Care in June. Both programs are designed to provide immediate assistance for a variety of medical problems.
Even a child with a sore throat, or an earache, or a headache that won't quit in the middle of the night, things like that.
Things like that were treated in emergency rooms, often resulting in long waits for less serious cases, while those in need were taken care of. Beginning Monday, patients with non-life-threatening injuries will be rerouted from the emergency room to here at the walk-in care unit. The end result is they'll end up saving time and money. In fact, it's estimated that the Duluth Clinic's new facility will end up saving over $500,000 a year, because almost 50% of the current emergency load will now be handled by walk-in care.
In an emergency room, the setup needs to be there, including all of the spectrum of care, including equipment and highly trained people and constant availability for very severe emergencies. And so the cost of maintaining that sort of facility, if applied to relatively non-emergent problems, becomes too high.
With the new increase in availability, an increase in patients is expected. Patients that put off a trip to the hospital to avoid the emergency room costs are now expected to seek immediate treatment for their non-life-threatening but still important aches and pains. In Duluth, Ted Rollins, News 6.
This is the St. Louis County Flood Victims Buyout Program in action.
Convey the title of the property from you.
Using federal, state, and county funds, the program buys homes from victims and helps them purchase and move to houses on high, dry ground. The county keeps the land, destroys the old houses, and will soon convert the lots to parks and recreation areas. Flood victims are enticed into the program by generous prices for their old homes and a bonus incentive.
We offered every family, there were almost like 400 families involved in this that were flooded out and cannot move back in because of the damage, a $5,000 relocation grant, just free money up front.
But though admittedly better off, some buyout participants are victims of a disaster that has no remedy. They not only lost a house, they lost their homes.
We'll miss the 28 years, we'll miss the place down there, you know, and there's memories to always, you know.
Dot and Zeldon Robinson raised their two children at 103 Huntington Street in LeMay. Joe Markovitz and his wife Ethel raised two children in their home of 34 years, just down the street from the Robinsons.
It's your home, and it was your home, and everything here was my life.
Hundreds of the victims of the 1993 floods were elderly homeowners. Their sacrifices will prevent future generations from facing the same disaster.
I know we're not young anymore, but we're just going to have to go on and build our lives.
Odetta Rogers-Clark, NBC News.
Yeah. It makes sense to do it this way. It doesn't make sense to split them up into 3 grades by 5th grade.
Julie Norman says she wants school administrators to take a second look at the way Duluth children are being educated. Right now, many kids will see 3 schools before they're 10 years old. And new parents may not even realize how switching schools will affect their child's future.
Some people that just have children that are just entering Rockridge don't realize the repercussions of what's to come for them. Yet they know it's different from anywhere else in the city, and they wonder why. Well,
so a group of parents are suggesting that an addition is built to Rockridge School so that kids from both Lester Park and Rockridge areas will learn together under one roof. Rockridge is currently kindergarten through 1st grade, and Lester Park is 2nd through 4th grade.
The idea to add on to the Rockridge School isn't a new one. Blueprints were drawn up just last year, but never became a reality. That's because the school board says there have been so many changes in their district, it just wasn't a priority.
Another reason parents are suggesting the addition is because the Lester School is not accessible to physically disabled children. There are also concerns of safety. But most importantly, most feel it isn't healthy for any child to have such an inconsistent learning environment. Hank Peterson, principal of Lester Park School, agrees.
We get real excited to think of all of us being united again in one building, so parents don't have their kids in 3 buildings in 5 years.
The addition to Rock Ridge was supposed to be complete by 1996. The school board says it's not a dead issue, but it's been put on a different timeline. In Duluth, Molly McMillan, News 6.
Line of, you know, is it policy or is it management? And I think at both cases, the board and administration is truly clouding that particular line. I truly think that in well-run districts, the board just deals with policy and lets the management operate that particular district. And I see that as a major problem that's facing Duluth at this time.
Winter is more than 50 days away, but we all know that winter driving occurs quite a bit sooner. Today's cold and snow may be just the reminder Northland residents need to winterize their cars and increase the chance of safe travel by road.
We had unseasonably cold weather, if you remember, last winter, and the roads had that black ice that never warmed up enough really for them to get rid of that, and we just had a tremendously poor season for traffic safety in the area, so we've got to change that, I hope, this year.
There are many steps you can take to prepare yourself and your car for winter driving conditions. Make sure your battery is in good working condition and the protection level of your antifreeze is good to 40 below zero. Traction is a must on any winter day. Snow tires add traction to any car, even those with front-wheel drive. Getting a tune-up is also a good idea. Have your belts and hoses checked for wear and tear. Last, but certainly not least, keep your gas tank full. When the weather turns bitterly cold, you may want to add some isopropyl alcohol to your gas tank. Winterizing the inside of your car is just as important as the outside. Your best bet is to carry a winter storm car kit. This kit should include items that will help you if you're lost, stranded, and in need of rescue. Items such as compasses and road maps may help you get back on track if lost. When stranded, blankets and extra clothing will help your body hold heat longer, while high-calorie, non-perishable foods help your body to generate the energy you need to stay warm. According to the State Patrol, jumper cables, shovels, flares, and other emergency items greatly increase your chance of being rescued.
Well, it's been proven time and time again, tragedies being averted by people that are prepared. We don't expect to become stalled or stuck in the middle of nowhere, but it can happen. And in the kind of weather that we can experience up here, even a short walk away from your car, a quarter mile or less, could be deadly.
A little time and money spent now will greatly increase your chance of survival when caught on the road during Mother Nature's icy wrath. On Thompson Hill, John Jetta, News 6.
I'm ready.
Grants coming in with 42% of the votes, and Barkley with 3% of the votes. The winner of the kids voting U.S. representative of the 8th district was Oberstar, who received 76% of the votes, and Herwig, who received 24% of the votes.
The winner for governor was Marty, receiving 49% of the votes, and second Carlson came in with 48% of the votes.
His staff received some information on the project. We've worked the best we can, and obviously in any large election.
I feel that the candidates should take a look at this kids voting.
And over 500 community volunteers were involved to make the project happen.
Kids Voting is a nonpartisan, nonprofit, grassroots organization.
All the way back to the earliest voyagers, Lake Superior has been claiming ships with her wind and waves. Many storms are notable for their violence, but one in particular rises above all the others. A lot of things have changed about Duluth in the last 90 years, but one thing that hasn't is the Duluth Ship Canal. And that was the site of one of the defining dramas in the history of Lake Superior shipping. The gale of November 28, 1905 will always be known as the Mataafa Storm.
Just as the bow got in between the pier heads, she got hit by a really large wave, and large enough that it lifted the back of the boat up to the point that the bow was driven right into the bottom and stopped the boat. And that same wave grabbed the rudder and twisted it around and pushed it into the propeller, and the propeller grabbed it and jammed it right up into the stern of the boat.
Eventually, the Mataafa fetched up against the beach along Canal Park. Tragically, 9 members of the crew were caught on the exposed stern of the boat, where they all either froze to death or were swept overboard. This storm arrived with very little warning, catching captains on the western lake unawares.
It was a case where everybody was pretty much on their last trip of the season, just packed up and went, and got caught out when they should have been in.
Those simple words sum up what is responsible for most of the anxious or tragic moments in a mariner's life.
One time we're coming in 1970, we're coming on the old McCullough Jr. And she's blowing 65, 70 knots. We got a load of coal for Ashland, and we get over this side of Caribou Island, and she's blowing 65 and 70 knots, and a big sea running, and that was an old ship, and boy, oh boy, was there a sea. Wow, no place to go, couldn't turn around.
Fortunately, improvements in ship design have made plying the lakes a much safer way to make a living.
I think compared to the boats 50 and 75 years ago, the boats today have an enormous reserve buoyancy, enormous capacity to stay afloat. I have little doubt that if you took a 1,000-footer and just cut it in half out on the lake, that both parts would float.
Experts warn that these advances may not always be enough to keep ships floating when confronted with the power of Superior. However, they are hopeful that exposure suits and better life rafts will be enough to protect the crews and eliminate the tragedy involved with the loss of a ship. George Kessler, News 6.
All of you to come for a tour of their club, and it's probably the very first formal action by our board to
past 4 years, and I'm real excited about this additional grant. We knew the competition was going to be very hard this year, and this partnership being talked about with the Boys and Girls Club, I think, is going to be a tremendous boost to what can be done.
And young, everybody, people off the street. If I can make people happy with a cookie, why not?
It could very easily be us
that would be the homeless one or the lonesome one. This is just our way of saying thank you. We have the physical things that we have and the families that we have. It's just one day a year, and it's certainly not a big deal. The real heroes are the people that support this event.
Freda Shapiro works on her computer 4 to 10 hours every day.
Eyes get incredibly tired. They're very irritated. One of the more interesting things that begins to happen is that I forget to blink.
In addition to taking more breaks, there's a new way to help people like Freda prevent eye strain.
I want you to show me with your hand about how far away your computer screen is from your eyes.
A new lens is making computer work easier on your eyes.
When you look at a computer and the computer is at eye level, which is not a comfortable position for your neck to begin with, it's also an uncomfortable position for the eyes. And what the computer glasses do is there's a prism in it, and the prism directs your gaze downward, and that's a more comfortable position for the eyes.
The computer lenses clip right over a regular pair of glasses, changing your prescription so that you can see comfortably at an intermediate distance where a computer screen would be. We held the lenses in front of this screen and watched what happens. Freda used them on her last big project and really noticed a difference.
Things in front of me on the screen get bigger. There seems to be less glare, and my eyes are more comfortable.
The computer lenses are best for people who wear bifocals, but anyone who gets tired eyes from using a computer may find relief at the eye doctor. For NBC News, I'm Lauren Scott.
The last time he was seen was 9 o'clock at night on Saturday. They figured he went out hunting Sunday morning, and they turned around and called us about 6 o'clock Sunday night.
Come across here, plantation, right through here. Yep. Just down here is a ribbon, and then I'll take off on that ribbon. And you guys just line up to the west.
This south line is flagged.
That'll be fine. Thank you.
The Kiwanis Club of Friendly Duluth raised more, so we get a nice-looking plaque. But the real winner, I think, is the area food shelves, because they're the ones who we collected the food and the money for.
This afternoon, Anoka County authorities removed her body from the scene of this morning's shootings. Shyla and her mother, 39-year-old Tulin Schreiber, were found shot. Both died. Tulin's 5-year-old son was wounded. And Tulin's estranged husband. Police were called to Tulin Schreiber's townhome at 6:30 this morning. People who live in this cluster of homes woke up not knowing what had happened.
I haven't heard any of the neighbors in here. There's one unit right behind me. I have never heard anything out of that unit.
Family friends arrived at the scene not knowing the two people were dead. They were overcome with grief after police told them the news. Over at Coon Rapids High School, students hugged, and friends drove over to Shyla's home in disbelief.
She's always just been a really nice, cheerful person, and that's probably the hardest thing and the weirdest thing is to, I mean, you never...
During his interviews with the investigators, he admitted things that
we have a lot of hope in the future. So.
attempted murder and raped 2 people the first time when he was young, and was sentenced to 70 years, and he was out in 12. So that's ridiculous. Right there, I think it failed.
Well, the purpose was not to have action at this point at the Congress, but to have the bill introduced and available for discussion by the FAA, the National Transportation Safety Board, the Department of Transportation, the airline industry, and most of all, the traveling public.
That's the expected expenditures from the graph that is a pie graph.
And let this tax increase happen. They better not call me when they get their tax bill. Because I'm fighting for them right now, and I need their support. And if those people don't make calls, if those people aren't there next Tuesday to say, bull, we're not going to take it, 5% is too much. The mayor's shown you a way where there can be no tax increase, so do it, damn it.
But there's a tendency for the same issues and the same answers to arise within many communities. And I think some of that information needs to be shared.
Look around you. That's not the case. And I hope that that's an indication of stride.
At this time, we're looking at focusing our attention on some of the long-term repair possibilities as well as some immediate repair needs. Those immediate repair needs seem to have surfaced along the length of the lake walk from Leif Erikson Park down to Lake Place.
That we're still on track for our $3.7, $3.8 million individual copiers for the schools, updating curriculum so that you're getting data that is current instead of 5-6 years in history. So, and the increase all this paperwork that we now a year later need another $80,000 machine.
It's best known as the old Arrowhead refinery site, a huge pond filled with sludge and toxic waste for almost 20 years now. Some 30 to 35 parties have just recently accepted official responsibility, and preparation for site cleanup has already begun. But so has preparation for the re-refinement of the sludge.
They run the material through their system and extract a usable fuel product that they can sell to help offset their costs of re-refining this product.
7&7 Incorporated of Ohio has been hired to separate the sludge and the toxic material. The sludge will then be sold to a fuel company and re-refined into heating oil.
And all they're basically doing is adding some material to the sludge to make it less viscous, and then are adding another chemical to it that essentially allows the lead to settle out, so that can be separated and disposed of.
The lead and other waste material will be shipped out of state to hazardous waste sites located in either Oklahoma or Utah. It is expected that cleanup and re-refinement preparations will continue through mid-February. The re-refinement process cannot begin until air temperatures are above 40 degrees Fahrenheit. In the meantime, an air monitoring system will be installed both upwind and downwind.
In the process of air monitoring, we're going to make sure that there aren't any toxic releases. On the other hand, the community needs to understand that there may be some odors associated with this.
In Hermantown, John Jetta, News 6.
We're asking all people in the community to respond to this and schedule an appointment before or after Christmas in January. January is a notorious month for a very low blood supply.
Virgil Sohn has been an employee. Ojibwe people were feared and respected by their enemies, loved by their friends. The good spirit, Chief of Life, he was pleased with his red children, and his children were content. Snows were melting. The sun became warm in the air. Which is entitled Lone Bird, Shadow on the Moon. The act that's going to happen.
Today we're pulling a sleigh that was made in St. Paul in 1884. I restored this sleigh about 14, 15 years ago. And we enjoy coming to Duluth from the South Country. It's always so beautiful up here with always fresh snow. Very relaxing. As you notice, it's always so peaceful and quiet, and the bells make a nice quiet sound as you're going through the snow, and this beautiful snow that's falling today, just the flakes, just makes it super. Everybody's having a good time, and that's what it's all about, is people going out and having fun.
have been through here before and are still enjoying the afternoon and will continue to for a while yet.
What we anticipate doing is sending between 15 and 35 people out there over the next few weeks to assist with the families that have been affected by the disaster out there, and we could certainly use some help.
When word reached those gathered outside the courtroom last night, there were hugs and tears. Inside the courtroom, Todd Warren showed little emotion as the verdicts were read. Guilty on all 3 counts of first-degree murder for the shooting deaths of Sam Witherspoon, Keith Hermanson, and Peter Moore. Warren's attorney, Rick Holmstrom, had been hoping for at least a manslaughter conviction. His feelings after the verdict.
Well, obviously disappointed. I feel very badly for my client, for his family. I don't know what more you can say. On the other hand, I knew it was a tough case going in. I don't think I've ever tried a case as difficult as this one to a jury.
The outcome of the case balanced on the testimony of Todd Warren himself, testimony that was filled with memory lapses and recollections different than other witnesses had testified to. Prosecutor Mark Rubin attacked Warren's testimony during the trial.
Because I think there were a lot of inconsistencies through his testimony, and the unreasonableness, the outrageousness of his conduct, I think, came through during his own testimony. At least I tried to reveal that through cross-examination.
And the jury thought the same thing. Today I spoke with several members of the jury on the condition that they not be identified. Here are some of their thoughts. Warren wasn't convincing. There was too much emphasis put on not remembering. The defense was not convincing. There were too many problems. We reached the only verdict we could. The evidence was there. Todd Warren said on the stand that he regrets what he did during the early morning hours of March 28, 1994. His attorney says Warren even wanted to call the victims' families to say he was sorry.
Every time I meet with him, he indicates if there was anything he could do to change it, he would, how badly he feels for what happened. In fact, I'm the one he wanted to contact the families of the young men involved. I told him not to do that.
But Holmstrom says he plans to appeal the case. He says there was lots of evidence of sexual assaults that occurred during the party that were not admitted during the trial. Todd Warren faces life in prison with the possibility of parole in anywhere from 30 to 90 years. At the St. Louis County Courthouse, Bill Lunn, News 6.
He calls it digging. He may be using a mallet and a number 5 fishtail gouge, but day in and day out, Bernie Torberg digs on logs.
Something's in there and you dig it out. If somebody comes along and says, I want so-and-so, then you got to know that so-and-so is in there. And you got to start digging in the right places.
Bernie Torberg and son Nork Torberg are sculptors. This day, Nork was carving the face into a Santa figure, building up inventory.
Boy, this is hard stuff.
Bernie was filling an order digging a Scandinavian troll, a good troll out of that white oak.
Put a little saucer of milk out for them and some cookies, and that's the way it goes. See, they take care of all the hard jobs for you.
Bernie and Nork Torberg have been carving for 30 years or so. Among the things that have found their way out of the logs are various styles of Santa, Bucky Badger, an old English butler, that carousel horse, all of which have given them pleasure.
To be able to make money at it too is just it's a bonus. So not many, we feel really fortunate that we can do that. Not many people, I don't think, can say that nowadays.
Everything is cool. Everything is fine. You know, don't worry about nothing. So.
Yup, in this woodcarver's shop, everything's cool.
Ken Speak for NBC News.
Latest information shows tuberculosis will hit 90 million people in the next 10 years if worldwide efforts don't stop it. After learning a man who frequented 2 Duluth bars died of the disease, St. Louis County health officials tested over 100 people. 7 had TB. Officials say even if they don't have symptoms, they could be carriers and may infect others.
They would be at high risk of developing disease within the next 2 years, and that's why it's so important for us to find them now and get them taken care of.
Calvin White was one of those tested for TB. His test was positive for the germ, but he has not developed any symptoms. He's taking medication, but now that the germ is inside his body, the health department says there's an 85% chance of developing the infectious disease. His mother suffered from TB for 2 years.
That's what kind of worried me when they said I got a positive. And then I thought back, well, my mother was in a sanatorium for it, and I'm at a greater risk of it.
While national cases of TB are on the rise, over the years, cases of the disease here dropped in 1991, but were back up last year. The concern for health officials is there's no effective protection that'll keep a healthy person from getting TB. That means the only cure is catching it early.
I think it's a risk all over, no matter where you go, because, you know, a lot of your friends go in there, and then you're in contact with them, too.
Some of the symptoms of TB include painful coughing, a tendency to feel weak, high fevers, coughing blood, and heavy sweating at night. If any of those symptoms are common to you, officials say you need a skin test immediately. When TB germs have become the disease, you're contagious and can spread the infection just by talking to someone else. In Duluth, Molly McMillan, News 6.
And the pilot chopped one of his engines, and then right at the end of the runway chopped the other engine and came in with no power and with his landing gear up and slid down the runway very smoothly. It's very fortunate that there was only the 2 people on the plane that were at any kind of risk.
What that calls for? The haulers can go anywhere. 3 and 4 of them in one area is no problem. And incidentally, that is going to be a real problem on our roads, as I mentioned last week. There will be no cap. Haulers set their own rates, and $35,000 to $50,000 per year to monitor, and that is also taxpayers' money.
Our outlook for the steel industry in the States is very robust for at least the next year and a half.
Carl Valdesari is chairman of Rouge Steel, a Detroit company that owns more than 30% of Eveleth mines. If you drive a Ford, chances are the steel came from Rouge and probably in turn from Eveleth mines. Valdesari says he recently looked at what the auto companies plan to do in the next year and a half, and he says it translates into good news for the Iron Range.
Iron ore range ought to attain some stability.
And while many conventions opt for the sunshine and palm trees of Miami or Las Vegas, the Society of Mining Engineers has opted for Duluth in January. Actually, this meeting is a tradition that goes back some 68 years and now attracts people from all over the world. In addition to the heads of industry being here, so too are the heads of unions. Stan Daniels says union members are enjoying the good times now too.
Well, the morale is up, and when times are good, everybody's happy. We're working, there's overtime out there, we're making good money, but we have to always look at the future, and there's always going to be another downturn. So we have to not forget and get back into that trap like we were in 2 years ago. So we're still trying to work and cut costs, even though the times are good.
Efficiency is something that every aspect of the industry is trying to achieve. There are people here from the power utilities and from the companies that supply machines, tools, and other products to the mines and mills. The bottom line being learning new ways of cutting costs and increasing profits. One word of warning, though. One industry official says the steel industry is on a 4-year cycle. Right now, the industry is thriving. 4 years ago, it was not. And 4 years from now is anybody's guess. At the deck, Bill Lund, News 6.
Some say it's the howl, others the complex social order. But whatever the reason, the wolf is the celebrity animal of the 90s, and Minnesota is known to the world as the home of the wolf. You see it in the basketball team and the t-shirts, and in a marketing campaign by Ely's International Wolf Center, where wolf education becomes business.
This here is a wolf pelt taken in the winter time.
Probably no other animal exists on the face of the earth that has so much mythology attached to it, and I think our job is to really try to overcome that.
The center's exquisitely detailed displays and live resident wolf pack drew 55,000 people in its first year. The effect on the Ely economy is easy to see. A new Holiday Inn and Super 8 are under construction to handle the flow of visitors. Mayor Frank Salerno can hardly contain himself.
We never predicted these many people would be coming here, to tell you the truth. It's far exceeded our expectations.
The real effect on Ely can be measured in dollars and cents, but also in changing attitudes. People on the street will tell you the wolf is getting new respect. It wasn't long ago that the extermination of wolves was a national policy. The state of Minnesota paid a bounty until the 1970s.
Mark, I'm Jan.
These two students are part of a test put together at the U of A for our special report on lying. David Buller and Judy Burgoon have done a number of big studies on deception in face-to-face dialogue.
How would you describe your religion and religious beliefs?
I'm atheist.
Okay. Any further description you have of that term?
I don't believe in God. I don't believe God exists.
Well, is he lying? How can we tell? First of all, the most common giveaways may not mean much. For example, most people think liars won't look you in the eye. So, a good liar might look you right in the eye and lie.
Well, we find that once you put people in a situation where they're interacting with somebody else, all of that is subject to change.
The point is, it's hard to point to just one thing and say, aha, he's lying. But there are some things to look for, like evasive answers or short answers. People talk less compared to normal. There's also less animation, fewer hand or arm gestures. But the biggest giveaway, according to experts, is the voice, pitch, tempo, and quality, like how fast or slow people respond, or they may have trouble carrying on a smooth conversation.
The voice is often a much better indicator of somebody being deceptive than are things like facial expression.
Armed with all that, is our friend here lying?
I thought they were straightforward answers.
Were you answering honestly and truthfully throughout?
No, I wasn't.
So, he was lying, and two of our clues might have helped you. His short answers and the lack of arm movements. If you believed him, don't feel badly. Studies indicate even the experts have trouble. Joe Donlin, NBC News, Tucson.
Also, if you're planning on electronically filing, that's a new option that is made available for people who have refunds for both the federal and the state returns this year.
People living near Ely are enjoying a small economic boom thanks to the timber wolf.
The gateway to the Boundary Waters is rapidly becoming known as the best place in the world to see wild wolves.
It's all part of a sophisticated marketing campaign that has begun paying big dividends. Some say it's the howl, others the complex social order. But whatever the reason, the wolf is the celebrity animal of the 90s, and Minnesota is known to the world as the home of the wolf. You see it in the basketball team and the T-shirts, and in a marketing campaign by Ely's International Wolf Center, where wolf education becomes business.
This here is a wolf pelt taken in the winter time.
Probably no other animal exists on the face of the earth that has so much mythology attached to it, and I think our job is to really try to overcome that.
The center's exquisitely detailed displays and live resident wolf pack drew 55,000 people in its first year. The effect on the Ely economy is easy to see. A new Holiday Inn and Super 8 are under construction to handle the flow of visitors. Mayor Frank Salerno can hardly contain himself.
We never predicted these many people would be coming here, to tell you the truth. It's far exceeded our expectations.
The real effect on Ely can be measured in dollars and cents, but also in changing attitudes. People on the street will tell you the wolf is getting new respect. It wasn't long ago that the extermination of wolves was a national policy. The state of Minnesota paid a bounty until the 1970s. But 20 years on the endangered species list has rebuilt populations, as well as an almost mythical status for the wolf. Nobody knows that better than instructor Lori Schmidt from Vermilion Community College.
And right now I have the signal of a 4-year-old male, wolf 423, that is in the study. And I'm picking him up southeast of here, probably within a half a mile of where we're located right now.
Working with the Wolf Center, Schmidt takes tourists into the wilderness trailing radio-collared wolves.
I'm looking obviously for the tracks, but also some indication of scent marking, or one of the other things that we often look for is if they're near a kill site, sometimes the ravens pick up pieces of hair.
Groups from as far away as China come here with an almost religious fervor.
I think a lot of people come here with this vision of a wolf being some kind of a godlike animal, and we try to bring them back down to the ground, and they're just a predator. They're no different than a lot of other predators, except that they live in packs.
The highlight of every trip is howling, hoping the wolves will howl back. Schmidt says she can get the wolves to respond about 50% of the time, but not this night. Boy, it is quiet, isn't it?
Yeah. You don't realize how quiet it is until you really listen.
Well, apparently they don't think we're wolves. The wolves cooperate often enough for the program to be successful. An expansion of the Wolf Center is in the works for later this year, and next month, the second ever World Symposium on Wolves will come to Ely and Duluth.
There's probably no better place on the face of the earth to come to understand the animal than right here in Ely.
Amidst all this good news for the wolf, there is trouble. The government was forced to kill almost 200 wolves last year through a little-known program that has the full support of environmentalists. And Michelle will tell you why it's been necessary to kill all these wolves when our special report continues tomorrow night.
Very interesting. But getting back to tonight's story, you were actually howling for the wolves?
I was actually howling for
I
the
think
wolves.
you need a little practice there. They know a good howl when they hear them.
Thanks, Michelle.
Not just those who are in a voluntary program. For those traditional students, they could build schools cheaper than actually running a year hopes of building schools cheaper than going through this year-round scheduling.
Bill Gardner, principal of Salt Lake City School District in he is the principal of Meadowlark Elementary School. Under the parents column, the majority of
The clinic doors are closed now. It was open until 5 o'clock. There were still a few stragglers, but the clinic managed to process 7,500 people today. Together with yesterday's total, that brings them more than halfway toward their goal of immunizing 22,000 people by Monday. Now, compared with yesterday, today's effort, which focused on older children and young adults, seemed somewhat less hectic. They came by foot. They came by bus. They came for peace of mind.
Might as well go get it done and feel safe because it's no hassle or anything. It went really quick and now I feel better.
College students and other Mankato residents who came to get their shots today could also feel better about the wait. There were no lines.
Keep on moving, please.
And everyone was in and out in about 10 minutes.
It doesn't hurt, it doesn't, I promise.
But health workers say they won't ease their efforts until as many as 22,000 immunizations are given by Monday night.
Hold on.
I'm not going to be lulled into complacency and send everybody home based on the fact that the line is evaporated.
Even college students who gave up a prized weekend day agree that's a good idea.
It's the best thing for everybody, and it doesn't take any time. So
why is it the best thing for everybody?
So it doesn't spread any further, and get it in the beginning stages before it gets out of hand.
The public health officials that we talked to today feel secure that this unprecedented vaccination effort will in fact keep the outbreak from getting further out of hand.
Description of the assessment on your home to that of homes in your neighborhood. You can find that information at the local recorder of deeds. If your property is 15% or more than similar properties, take your case to the tax assessment enough to get your assessment lowered. If not, the next step is a formal appeal to the local review board. This report is sponsored in part by Liz's Artistic Impressions.
For weeks, you've probably seen his picture in the paper and on posters, but he's nowhere to be found. Elliot the tabby cat is lost and sadly missed.
Elliot is like no other cat. Elliot is my son's cat, and he sleeps with my son every night.
He's been missing since the middle of February. Elliot's family thinks he was picked up by a stranger while he was walking along 14th Avenue East and 1st Street. That stranger may have been trying to help Elliot by giving him a place to live, but he already has an owner, 11-year-old Marty Roach, who misses Elliot a lot.
I do want him back.
Elliot is his best friend. Elliot is his buddy. He's like, Marty said to me the other day, he says, Mom, it's like I lost my brother.
Marty has other cats that he loves, but Elliot was special. Special because he's sick and desperately needs medicine. That's why the Roaches are offering a $250 reward and a new kitten to anyone who has seen Elliot. The Roaches say they're offering that much money because when it comes to love, there are no boundaries. A friendship like Elliot and Marty's can't be replaced.
And I'm begging you, please, just let him come home. Just give us a call. We won't do anything to you. Just let us have him back.
In Duluth, Molly McMillan, News 6.
We just, you know, we love them. I mean, my husband was not a cat lover, but
Turned into one, huh?
yeah,
So I don't see
I think our goal should be to provide as many on-site parking places as possible, not shift cars around.
They're going to park on 2nd Street. I'm not going to be allowed to park in the school parking lot. Where am I going to park after work? Secondly, two Chodos returned tax credits last year to a tune of $63,000, which over a 10-year period means $630,000.
And do a better job of trying to recruit new businesses to this area. Superior's unemployment is higher than the state average, and we as a department in Madison need to do a better job of trying to locate businesses in areas where they desperately need jobs, and Superior would be one of those.
Suites. This and over here, you can see the old shrines there. Well, of course, Vickers is on the National Historic Register, so we're blending both exteriors to match existing building, and inside we're leaving some of the existing brick walls to match, so we'll always have the old historic charm on all the suites.
Did it really get cold where people didn't come out? So we had a very consistent year.
And it was about 2:30. It was just like a bomb went off in my house. And I woke up and this boy shook me out of my bed. And I came down and here this truck was stuck right through there. That's all I can say.
Northland businesses experienced a large number of burglaries this winter. One burglary happened in a bar in Proctor, Minnesota, early in the morning of Tuesday, January 17th. The burglars pried open the back door to get into the building. Once inside, they concentrated on searching for cash. The burglars brought tools with them and pried open the jukebox, pool table, and several video games. They also spent some time breaking into the company safe. The total loss was nearly $4,000. Other businesses in St. Louis and Douglas counties have reported similar burglaries where video machines and games were pried open. Area law enforcement believes some of these crimes are related. Do you have any information about this Proctor burglary or any of the others? Call Crime Stoppers if you do. We'll keep your name anonymous and give you a reward up to $1,000. Our telephone number is 1-800-974-TIPS or 723-ENOUGH.
In 1947, Vince Teeny started a plumbing and pipe fitting business in Eveleth. Over time, the business moved to Virginia, and the elder Teeny went into business with his son, Dante. And since then, the growth in the company has been steady. Now, Teeny Mechanical Contractors offers a full array of sheet metal and pipe fitting services. It's one of the largest firms of its type on the Iron Range, built by a determined family.
My mother was very involved with my dad, supporting him, and my brother's been working here with us, and so it's a family affair.
One tool that's markedly different from Vince Teeny's day is this one, a state-of-the-art instrument called a quick pen system. Using a light pen, a worker can measure a floor plan and compute the exact material needed for a job. When those figures are combined with a firm's labor rates, you get an instant expense total, used to bid on new projects.
We just got this as new for us in the last couple months.
Is this pretty much state-of-the-art then here, or how does this...
At this time, this is the best you can get.
Without the system, bids are formulated by hand and take 2 to 3 weeks. With the system, forming a bid takes a few days. That means increased productivity. Teeny employs 40 people at the peak of the season. The firm is working on the new Virginia primary school and has had a host of other contracts, including Giants Ridge. The firm's commitment to hard work and technology helped make it a profile of success. In Virginia, Jeff Pappas, Channel 6 News.
You may not be aware of it, but there is a representative from the school board here, children, and I'm excited. I want to get over here and as fast as I can from the outside. So these boys are going to be active in building to make this possible. What we'd like to do now is have you have an opportunity to meet. The advantages of being able to do this particular program is that the home program is going to be able to produce new construction, which is going to be unique in that it's going to be a very affordable home for a low to moderate income family that wouldn't otherwise be able to afford a luxury like a brand new home. And any of you any questions that you might have? Other than what you've already asked? If you don't know what the home program is, please ask Sue, and she can give you the details on it. We've done a lot of home houses.
Of the eligible expenses. The budget, page 54, high interest earnings from the fund balance. For more traffic I'm getting on our town roads.
$1,000, $17 a thousand. Lake Geneva's taxes are about $5 a thousand. So what the governor's budget does is shift the money from Superior taxpayers who pay 3 times the property taxes to subsidize Lake Geneva so that their taxes remain one of the lowest in the state. Would you react to this shifting of the shaft?
It's very unfair, very unfair. I note here that Elmford.
A North Side church in Superior, Wisconsin was burglarized early in the morning of Wednesday, March 8th. Someone got inside the building by prying open one of the windows in the church office, where they found 2 bank deposit bags. A North Side church in Superior, Wisconsin was burglarized early in the morning of Wednesday, March 8th. Someone got inside the building by prying open one of the windows in the church office, where they found 2 bank deposit bags containing $1,000 in cash and checks. Those checks are good only to the church. Burglaries and theft are a major problem throughout the Northland. The criminals who commit them usually continue until someone stops them. Call Crime Stoppers if you have any information about this crime or any crime. We'll keep your name a secret and pay you up to $1,000 for your help. The Crime Stopper Board is made up of Northland volunteers and funded by contributions from area citizens and businesses. If you want to help or get involved, call us on our TIPS line, 1-800-974-TIPS or 723-ENOUGH.
Little celebration. The fruits of our effort have shown through the polls, and I'm real excited to move forward to work for the City of Superior.
We can, but there's enough to just can't.
Unless there were some. Oh, were you?
See, the performance exam that we do, people who have prior experience or...
There's such a variety of what could happen as an emergency that they have to have so much to memory and how they do their job and what needs to be done.
And that translates into things like promotions.
It started as a class project for nursing students at the College of St. Scholastica, a community works project required for a class grade. It turned into something much more.
We're just going to do it as a project, get it over with as quickly as possible. But as we started coming and visiting, and we did surveys and things like that, it just sort of blossomed.
The project blossomed into something special. Working with Duluth Lifehouse, the student project became a series of seminars designed to help teens get and keep jobs. Area businesses jumped on the bandwagon.
I get a lot of applications from people who are either they're not filled out, they don't even know how to come in and get an application. So a lot of these kids, it gives them an opportunity for people in the business to tell them, well, this is how you start.
It's a good match for the businesses and for the young people who came to the Lifehouse to listen.
Because the kids that come around here, you know, they just think of coming here, you know, just to play pool and that, and this would teach them to get up off their feet and get a job, you know.
I think it's good because there's a lot of people that come in here that don't have jobs and need places to live, so if they had a job, you know, they'd have a place to live.
Thanks to the efforts of the students and the attention of the teens, the seminars are a win-win situation for everyone. In Duluth, Jeff Pappas, Channel 6 News.
These things in our minds, so when it comes to the time of the interview, we get contact.
At first glance, it's no different from a larger chain store. Names and brands familiar to shoppers across the Northland. But look again, and welcome to CJ's of Cloquet.
The mom-and-pop department stores are not very popular anymore. It's we can see that the trends are going to the malls, but we offer something that maybe the malls don't, and that's personal service.
Carl and his wife Judy started their business 11 years ago in a 2,000 square foot building. 3 years ago, they moved into the former Johnson Company building on Cloquet Avenue, increasing their floor space by 700%. The decision to expand wasn't easy.
You know, this place is huge. We don't, you know, we shouldn't even be looking at it because it was so big. But there again, through prayer, the prayers were answered that this was what we should do.
And the results have been gratifying. The store also carries a fully stocked bridal registry, and the business has seen a nearly tenfold increase in gross sales over 11 years.
The community has supported us very well. We're very appreciative of that. They're bearing with us as far as it takes time to get all the product in that you want.
Future plans include stocking the 6,000 square foot basement of the building, not the kind of expansion you'd expect from mom and pop. In Cloquet, Jeff Pappas, Channel 6 News.
I'm looking for true symbols, and it's more important for me symbols than just pictures.
Small, intricate lines weave together symbols of expression for Luba Chubanyuk. She's a Ukrainian artist, finding her way through the United States with a culture and passion all her own.
After a couple of months, I began to feel homesick. So when I had the opportunity to visit Ukraine store in Minneapolis, I saw lots of beautiful Easter eggs, and inspired me to return to my work, to my art.
With a small instrument, she carefully heats the beeswax and prepares her eggshell canvas. Slowly, a simple line becomes the shape of an animal.
I can see my design coming to life.
Sometimes it's a deer, or once it's finished, a butterfly. Images that every culture understands.
It's a way of remembering a link to the past and a link to another culture. And, for my children especially, I think it's important that they have some sense of that heritage.
Luba hasn't always had this much freedom. Decorating eggs with symbols is historically a Christian tradition that wasn't widely accepted in the Ukraine. But by bringing that tradition here, Luba hopes that her unique art will bring countries far apart closer together.
I think everyone has the same feeling, the same desire, the same wishes. We just have different system, and if we can break that system, we will become all friends.
In Duluth, Molly McMillan, KARE 11 News.
Young people today need something to do. Maybe, but I think people can go to church all their life and not really know what it means to be a Christian. They believe just because they were raised a certain way that that's how it is.
When residents move into the Meadows in Hermantown, what they're promised is luxury living with a heated pool and a private health club. What they're not promised is cracking walls and foundations. In this unit, you can see a crack that runs all the way from the door up through the wall to the ceiling. You can see that the coping around the door has separated due to the settling of the foundation. And if you take a look over here, you can see a crack that runs deep into this wall. In fact, the problems in this unit got so bad that the residents finally moved out. A leader of a local trade union that helped build these townhomes says he was disgusted with the design and quality of the materials. Speaking on the condition of anonymity, he says they just threw it together, and that's not good enough. That makes us feel bad. He adds, the production framing didn't line up, so the building wouldn't be square. Meadows management acknowledges a problem and says they've been doing everything they can to keep their residents happy.
Even if you build a house, it's going to settle. There's going to be little hairline cracks. These are all things that happen, and we know they happen. The thing is, we arrange a budget that will take care of this on a yearly basis. We just haven't been able to do anything because of the weather.
The Meadows has offered people in affected buildings to move into other units. One other concern, according to the union leader, is the lack of adequate supervision during construction from the city of Hermantown. He says the Hermantown building inspector was not on the job enough to check the quality. But in fact, there is no Hermantown building inspector. Inspections are done on a contractual basis by a private contractor. According to the city of Hermantown, the Meadows passed all inspections on March 27th of this year. In Hermantown, Bill Lund, Channel 6 News.
When I was 14 weeks pregnant, we had an ultrasound. But he's done it consistently.
Remember what we. And really, what we're doing is sharing information about what we do and what we think are the best ways to evaluate children with developmental problems.
Some of it's a reflection of his low muscle tone. And I don't believe he has any type of a deformity of his feet. His head is probably normal for his age, that size-wise, if we looked on the growth chart.
Is his fontanelle still open or not?
It's about a fingertip, but it's fibrosed over.
And yet there are a lot of things around the city and around the country that people of ordinary skills can volunteer their time and their efforts and just make things better for everybody.
Yeah, it's wiggling around anyway, but I'm gonna get some weight on it and settle it down.
Also, it's expected there will be a spin-off of about 500 jobs of services that will be provided to Northwest. That doesn't take into consideration also the great effect of housing in the area, the little corner restaurants and those types of places that are going to benefit as well.
I know at the Cattle Lake site they also have Native Americans used it. Well, we've got a lot of flammable vegetation that's easy to burn this time of year. Everything is dead. A lot of the grasses are dead, and they carry the fire well. And you can conduct it in such a manner that it's still controllable because, like a day like today, the humidity is up, the wind isn't too strong.
About 2 weeks ago, an Ashland woman went to the emergency room with severe flu-like symptoms. After extensive testing, doctors discovered cryptosporidium is making her sick, the same waterborne organism that sickened thousands of Milwaukee residents 2 years ago. The Ashland County Health Department says right now there's just one case, and it isn't considered an outbreak.
By our state statutes, there has to be 2 cases. Number one, there has to be 2 cases, and also it has to be attributed to a water source. And in this case, there was only 1 case, and it was not definitely defined as to where it came from.
However, Ashland water officials have begun an investigation of the city's water supply.
So we're taking this very seriously. We are, as I've mentioned before, very concerned about this situation.
A review of plant records over the past few weeks shows the city's drinking water has met all of the federal standards. And last year, a state study showed the plant was free from any crypto-contamination. However, some nearby streams that run into Lake Superior, the source of Ashland's drinking water, tested positive.
We're going to move as quickly as we can to try and make sure that that if we have a problem, we're dealing with it appropriately, and if we don't have a problem, we're still going to make sure the public is aware of it, and that you know, if they feel they need to take some additional precautions, have some suggestions for them.
Plant officials will be collecting water samples this weekend and then send them off to the state hygiene lab for testing. In the meantime, Ashland residents will be receiving an information packet on cryptosporidium along with their monthly utility bills. In Ashland, Gina Katzmark, Channel 6 News.
Tacey Woodworth will always remember the day she discovered her son Stevie's tumor.
It was just changing him, and and I just, had my hands on his belly, and I just felt like there was something on one side that wasn't right. Because you can't just make him hold still so you can feel all over his belly and everything. So I waited until he fell asleep for a nap. He was still taking naps then, and then he was relaxed, and it was definitely there.
Stevie had never complained about feeling sick. Tacey had never noticed a bulge. She says she was blown away when the doctor told her Stevie had a cancerous tumor in his abdomen, the size of a small basketball.
I don't really remember, what I was doing or what I was saying. I do remember him saying, children don't die of cancer anymore. There's everything that they do now. It's incredible. You've got to believe that. You've got to really believe that he's going to be okay.
Stevie had a Wilms tumor. Doctors diagnose only about 500 cases in the country each year. It had filled his entire right kidney and pushed all of his other abdominal organs aside. Doctors realized they had no time to lose. The tumor was already beginning to break through Stevie's kidney wall. So they operated within a week and began his chemotherapy treatment just a few days later.
Even with all that we know scientifically about what a tumor is and how to treat it, a lot of time, a little bit of good luck is very valuable, and we'll take anything we can get these kids better.
Cancer took one kidney, but medicine gave Stevie a future. In Ellsworth, Maine, Deborah Feldman for NBC News.
Ready? 1, 2, 3. Woo, big boy.
Matthew Perkins' life has been a series of small victories. He had complete respiratory failure at birth. His muscles were useless. Doctors revived him but said he wouldn't live more than 6 months. He had all the signs of a baby with a degenerative disease. In other words, children like Matthew almost always get worse, not better. But Matthew has surprised everybody. Today, he can move several parts of his body and is learning sign language. He's not mentally retarded and would be able to speak if it weren't for the machinery that keeps him breathing.
He's come a long ways. He's able to move his arms. He's able to move his head. We've got him now so he hums a song. He hums a Bonnie song.
Matthew is one of the very few to leave a hospice alive. His illness is extremely rare. Doctors can't pinpoint his problem. They simply classify it as a severe neuromuscular disease. Nurses say the fact that he's still alive and has stabilized is a miracle. They attribute it to luck, medicine, and the superb care given by his mother, Christine.
When he was born, I didn't want to let myself, hope. The day that the nurse came up and took him, said he really doesn't need to be on this hospice program anymore, I'm like, wow. Probably that was the day it kind of sunk in. I said, he's really doing good.
Since then, Christine has learned how to take care of all of her son's medical needs. She works round the clock, taking only a few hours to herself when a nurse relieves her. The hospice workers who have helped her care for Matthew are trained to expect the worst. They're not used to stories like his.
It's been a wonderful thing to see and be part of, instead of a sad ending. In hospice, the endings usually are sad, and it's just nice to have seen Matthew progress.
Christine is no longer worried that her son will die. Instead, each day is a chance to see how much more he will live. In Alton, Maine, Deborah Feldman for NBC News.
We improved our warning statistics tremendously just for a one-day occurrence. We had those images that we see. But the big factor that's going to be the difference between the old radar and the new radar is our ability to look inside and see wind movements within the storms. Never before have we been able to see circulations develop, which is the beginning of a tornado in the mid part of the cloud. This time we will, and it's a tremendous benefit, a tremendous step forward for us.